checks off. Short drop. Goes the favorite.
As always, we got to thank God for every minute of every day. Welcome to the Joe Show. No, sir. New name. It's the In the Huddle with Joe Ham. Joe, is it Ham or Joe Hamilton? Which one?
Joe Ham. It stands for Hamilton, but it's Joe Ham.
Okay.
And we can
In the Huddle with Joe Ham. And we'll change that graphic, man. That open looked really, really, really nice. Did you see the camera on you when you winked your eye and did the little peace sign? Did you see the camera on
absolutely, you? Absolutely. I didn't find the camera. I didn't search it out. I didn't seek it out, but it found me. And yes, man. Hey, I was looking around right before you came on screen. I was looking around for my helmet. Man, I should give me a helmet. Hey, I don't have but 9 plays. I don't have a 9-play drive, but if you can get me inside the red zone, I got you probably 3 to 4 plays that we could probably get a score and go for 2. I feel good, brother.
Shouts out to the Naughty Dread in the chat room and chatting with the folks and running the show for us tonight. Shouts out to my man Melvin Eccles. That's right, Bay 11 Towing. If y'all have any towing needs for your vehicles, man, give Melvin a call at 404-770-6949. We appreciate you, Melvin. And shouts out to everybody that's made a couple of comments on how that new open looks really, really good. Only took us about 4 months to get it, but we got it, and it's ready to go. How you feeling, man? Welcome back. We've already done the New Year thing. This is our second show of the year. How was your week last week, man? Give me a quick rundown before we get into these sports, man.
Yes, I get along in the sports, man. Outside of that, man, scratching that itch, and I'm full. My ribs are not showing in terms of sports and in terms of getting out there and consuming that. What better year? But what I'm really finding out, man, Stu, the purpose, identity, and every single time I think about this prayer, meditation, just a talk with the fellows, talk with you, with God, the higher power, it's all about servanthood, man. A good day for me these days is making somebody smile, making somebody happy, to be of service, to be of help. I'm not talking about I'm going to every corner and passing out water or giving somebody downtown $2 or $3 every time I see them. I'm talking about looking out, having my neck stretched out a little bit and saying, who can I help today? Who can I enable? Those are the type of things. And I'm not forgetting about myself. I'm not forgetting about my family and responsibilities. But the name of the game is Jesus Christ and to make yourself more like him. And that's who he was. And I'm telling you, that makes me feel so good just when I can be of service, my brother.
A simple God bless you or have a nice day or a simple I'll be praying for you. Those words go further than people will ever understand, and they should be used more often.
And a little bit more simpler, Stu, to add along with that, 2 of your ears. I mean, both of your ears. You know what I mean? Just listen. Sometimes somebody just say, hear me out for a second. Can I tell you something about my day? And then that's not for you to even respond. It's almost a situation where I got you. I'm praying for you. And all they wanted to do is to get that off their chest. So, man, I'm doing fabulous, man. I'm doing really, really good. And I'm telling you, day by day, man, I'm just egging on, man, living life, loving life as well.
This message in the chat room makes me want to remind y'all of something. Stanley Favors, we appreciate you, Stanley. What's up, Ryan? And Joe Ham. Glad to see you guys are back on live every single Wednesday at 9. It will be In the Huddle with Joe Ham. If I'm not hosting, the Dread will be hosting. If the Dread's not hosting, Doug will be hosting. And eventually Joe will be like, one day, hey, man, y'all good. Y'all can go ahead and push on. I'll run this thing my damn self. And then when that happens, we'll be fine with that too. But Stanley, every Wednesday at 9 o'clock, we're here.
No doubt about it.
7 o'clock on Wednesdays before we get on the No Show with the great Naughty Dread and Ollie Michelle. And then every Monday and Thursday at 7 a.m. So tomorrow morning, you have the Two Lives Tuesday experience with myself and Doug Stewart. So tonight, we've got college topics. We've got NFL topics. I'm sure we'll go off the cuff with a few things after certain things get said. But tonight, it is In the Huddle with Joe Ham. My thoughts on the majority of things that we talk about tonight will be shared with you in the morning. This is Joe's Take Tonight. I'm going to say some stuff, but this is Joe's Take Tonight. Before we get started, Joe, I got to do something real quick, and I want to apologize to you, Okay.
Uh-huh.
I'm apologizing because my battery's about to die. So I'm going to have to remove myself for 2 seconds to plug this up to make sure that while we're doing the show, we just don't disappear. Give me 1 second. I apologize.
Well, there's no problem.
Yeah,
It gives me an
to
opportunity to
listeners.
shout out to
Yeah.
all the listeners, give a shout out to everybody watching. I wouldn't say I'm back, but I'm glad to be on the airwaves with my guy.
Oh, you back. Oh, you back.
And I'm telling you, I'm excited about what you just said about a few moments ago, that eventually I can take over and feel comfortable doing what you just did and talking to the listeners. We're not doing anything about chopping it up.
That's
and
it,
boy,
man.
I have a lot of things in my heart, Bo.
I used to have a real hard time when it came to doing the show by myself, and we're about to get into this thing. This is the Joe Hamilton Show, In the Huddle with Joe. Joe Ham is his show. We're going to get started here in a second. But I used to be uncomfortable doing things by myself on the show. Or if Doug wasn't there, or if Doug would freeze up and I had to carry the show for about 5 to 10 minutes. It just was nerve-wracking. And then a buddy of mine was like, all that talking we do about sports, all that talking we do about entertainment, you mean to tell me you freeze up if you got to do it by yourself? And then I thought about it. Man, he right.
Yeah.
Man, he right. I don't really need anybody to assist me or hold my hand while we're doing what we do. Lifestyle, entertainment, sports, just talk. Just talk. And if you need reference points or you need to have the thought of a response to something that you say, then that chat is right there for that purpose also. So yeah, I know you can do it by yourself. There is no pressure. I'm down to do it every single time, or we'll have somebody do it. But listen, man, I love it. Very excited for you, and I love what's going on. It is In the Huddle with Joe Ham, your boy One Live Stew, the point man right now. It is Stuart Media Entertainment. Two Live Stews experience will go down tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock. We hope you all will join then. First topic for tonight, Joe. In the world of college football, it's a wrap. And we know what happened with the Ohio State Notre Dame game, a game I did not bet on, which I should have, because I knew what was going to happen. We talked about what was going to happen, but for some reason, in a bad week the weekend before, I said, you know what? I'm not going to do it. I'm going to let this thing ride. I'm going to enjoy this game. So I didn't bet on the game. However, the Buckeyes are at the top of the pecking order in college football. Ryan Day can finally breathe. He's got himself a championship, even though he has not done a good job of competing with the Michigan Wolverines. Joe, let's get your take on college football first and the national championship that took place a couple of days ago. Your take on Ohio State being our champion.
Yeah, I can see it now, Stu. I can see it and I can feel it. Why a lot of people would say that college football, they enjoy watching that more than the NFL. I can understand. I'm an NFL guy to be exact, but this excitement about the college football season from the beginning to in the middle to the end. Exciting games after exciting games. You had week 3 matchups in a conference to see who's going to win the conference or who's going to be on the top. At the end of the season, going into conference championship games, you had battles for that. Each and every week, you had big-time battles, big-time players, or storylines. When you throw some of these storylines in the product that college football was able to put on display with new eyes on the product. New eyes. You had Boise State come to the party. Arizona State came to the party. My goodness, Indiana came to the party. All those guys came in the playoffs with something on the line, and with that, you're going to bring different viewers from all across the nation. And you add Ohio State into it. Without watching this team, if I was to read a book and to see a team lose against their rivals the last week of the season, players, coaches, alumni calling for their coach head, get him out of there. Who are you going to replace him with? I don't know. Find somebody. Anybody can do the job he's doing. We heard it all. I might have said some of those things. All right, but all of a sudden you bounce back, rally the troops. That's showing me a sign of a good staff, a good head coach, and outstanding leadership. And I'm not talking about on the field. I'm talking 5th-year seniors, 4th-year seniors, guys that's been in the program, guys that know what it takes to win and prepare. Ohio State now, Stu. Tennessee, I would say that's a blue blood. Texas, I would say that's a blue blood.
Agreed.
Oregon, up and coming blue blood, but they were the number 1 team the entire season. And then you finish it off by beating Notre Dame, another blue blood. So Ohio State was not handed anything, by God, they are national champions because they earned every single thing. And there should be no doubt about who the national champions are.
34-23, final score. Ohio State had total control from the start of that ball game. Notre Dame did start things off with the touchdown at first. I have a question for you, Joe. You being a quarterback that was very proficient with throwing the ball down the field. You being a quarterback that used his legs to get him out of sticky situations whenever he needed to. You being a quarterback that would notice when the DBs were in man-to-man running down the field with the receiver and realizing that you could get out and get you 5 or 6 yards to just move the damn chains. Ohio State did one thing that Notre Dame did not do. Ohio State ran the ball effectively. 214 yards on the ground between Judkins and Howard. Trayvon Henderson came in there. My question to you, Joe, is it as simple as winning the line of scrimmage and finding success in running the ball? That is a matrix to make sure you find ways to win football games? Or does it have to be a pass-happy offense? Or you find with teams just literally establishing the run like Ohio State did in that national championship last Monday?
Football is not going to change. Football is not going to change when you look back at national champions. You look back at Super Bowl champions. It's going to be the chance or the opportunity to run the ball and impose your will. And there's one thing I loved about Chip Kelly and how his offensive game plan went down, the offensive coordinator for Ohio State. You have the weapons you can use to utilize the run. When I say that, I mean that if you have Jeremiah Smith and you have Ibuka and you have Tate or 3 wide receivers that's dangerous, use that to notice the defense is going to have 2 high safeties. They cannot load up to stop the run. They're going to double team somebody, and that's going to take somebody out of the box. And if somebody's out of the box, a 5-man or a 6-man box, you should be able to run the ball with 2 explosive backs. So Chip Kelly and those guys did not get cute. They took the opportunity to run the ball. And when it presented themselves as far as going downfield, getting the one-on-one matchups, they took it. We used to call that, Stu, when a wide receiver is man-to-man, no safety help, or a wide receiver has the DB back off 7 yards, no safety help. As a quarterback, we would say, hey, let's go steal something. Let's go ski mask up. Because one-on-one with our players, we always have the confidence to say, can you beat that guy one-on-one? Yes. Can you make that throw? In my sleep, I can. So that's what happens, man. When your offensive weapons dictate what Al Golden, defense for Notre Dame, had to do, that's when you get out on top and the guys execute just one turnover. And that's very rarely that you see a team having or losing a turnover battle and winning the game. That doesn't usually come to fruition, but that's called talent.
Let's keep it here on Ohio State here for a quick second, man. Before we move any further, I do want to talk about a little bit of Big Ten ball. But before we get to the Big Ten ball, Ohio State is believed to have paid the most NIL money to its players in 2024. The Buckeyes allocated around $20 million from collectives and brand affiliates to their football players. Other college teams that paid a lot of money when it comes to the NILs is Georgia, Texas, the UCLA Bruins, the Nebraska Cornhuskers. I believe Iowa State, the Cyclones, were right around 8th and 9th when it comes to money that was paid to kids in the collective. Some of the bitter bear faces like Paul Feinbaum, guys that are huge Alabama fans, fans that are huge Go Blue fans, huge Michigan fans, have been pounding their chest talking about OSU purchasing this championship for Ryan Day. What's your take on folks that's saying Ohio State paid for this title?
They're right. They're absolutely right. They did pay the most for a roster in college football. But you have to give credit to their GM. They're calling the scouting department, the head of the scouting department these days, GMs, just like the NFL. Money well spent. But I would tell you as something else that entire defense, with the exception of Caleb Down and one other player, was homegrown. I would tell you that defense had 4- and 5th-year seniors that they came back. Now, did you spend a lot of money keeping those guys back from not going to the NFL? Because I think Jack Sawyer and the other defensive end could have made a lot of money going to the NFL. Yes, It's money well spent. But my whole thing is that although it wasn't $20 million, we didn't say anything about Michigan last year and how their NIL was spread out. They just
Right.
paid Underwood. They just paid Underwood, a freshman coming in, to be quarterback for their team. I heard allegedly $10 to $12 million for 4 years. So nobody's talking about that. What about Georgia when they won back-to-back? Were they paying anybody? Maybe not the tune of $20 million, but they were utilizing their NIL money in the collectives. So at this point in time, where college football is at, I know it's not an even playing field as far as the monies. You can divvy out Texas, Ohio State, some of the big boys, but you have to coach that talent. They got to be able to work together, be glue, have chemistry. So no, I'm not taking anything away from Ohio State. And to those fans that say that, I would softly say, stop hating.
You go softly say, stop hating. This is the time with your man Joe Ham is in the huddle with Joe Ham on Stewart Media and Entertainment every Wednesday at 9 o'clock. You just mentioned general managers. It goes to show exactly where college football is headed. Joe, the Stanford Cardinals have hired former Stanford standout, former Indianapolis Colts standout, Andrew Luck, as the manager of the Stanford Cardinals. This is definitely a role I can see you fulfilling at Georgia Tech.
Oh, man.
I want your thoughts on college football and colleges having a general manager now. How much is this thing just turned into business, period? We don't talk about education no more. How much of this thing is just turned into business with these general managers now running college football and college sports?
Oh, it's absolutely a business. And, just shout out to Andrew Luck. I mean, that's a win-win for Stanford all across the board. Somebody that, did all those amazing things at Stanford, #1 overall pick, smart as all outdoors, graduated from Stanford, cares about the school, and knows how to scout and have fun and chop it up. He's going to raise a lot of money, if not donate some of his money. I mean, it's just an outstanding deal. But when you say GMs and more of a business now, forgive me for not knowing the general manager name for Bill Belichick at North Carolina. He brought that guy straight from the pros. That's a 3-time Super Bowl champion who I'm talking about. And now he's going back to college, and it's all about the business now. It's all about Bill Belichick coming out to you and saying he's going to run the Tar Heels, North Carolina, like a NFL program.
Michael Lombardi.
Yeah, Michael Lombardi. Thanks a lot. Stu. Michael Lombardi is the GM. His only experience was in the NFL. So that's where it's going. And now it's going more so that if you have $20 million to spend, if you have $15 million to spend, where are you going to get a player? It's going to be just like do I need to upgrade defensive end? Do I need a wide receiver? Do I need a quarterback, a DB? Let's go in this transfer portal. Let's go on another team and see if our collectives can ante up enough money to get these kids on campus. And again, we don't have to elaborate on it too much, but it's going to be an ongoing theme. That's who's going to suffer is the young student athletes from high school now, because you and I would rather go and get a seasoned veteran that's played college, that has probably 10, 12 starts under their belt, than to go out and get a true freshman coming out of high school that I don't quite know if I can depend on quite yet. Needs a little bit more developing.
I agree with you 100%, man. It's your boy, One Live Stu. It is the Joe Ham Show. Spend some time on Stewart Media and Entertainment right now with Joe Hamilton. We do this every Wednesday at 9 o'clock. One more thing on college football. No, not one more thing. Probably two more things in college football. I need your serious thoughts, Joe, and I want your serious opinions on this. Is there a Big Ten takeover? Best conference right now. People keep screaming from the rooftops because Ohio State just won, because Michigan won last year. Is there a Big Ten takeover when it comes to the college football playoffs and the teams that are now winning these championships after a real recent SEC bias because of the domination of the SEC? I'll go through the names here in a few seconds, but I just want your take on, is there a Big Ten takeover as the best conference in college football right now?
Yes, we're in the process of watching it because I am going to be a prisoner of the moment. I am going to stand in the right now. All right, so how far do we have to go back? I can't go back 5 years. Oh, what happened back from 2017 to 2022? I know what happened. I know the SEC with LSU and Alabama and Georgia winning it twice. Back to back. I understand. But the
Clemson
last
was
two
in there
seasons,
twice in 2016, 2018, and then 17. 17, 19, 20, 21, and 22 were SEC schools.
Absolutely. And then we have to give credit to the SEC schools. But what we did not ever say about the SEC, that they were real deep. How many teams? See, the SEC, and when they want to say that it matters more in the SEC, they're the big bad wolf on the block. Yeah, but they're going to try to say Ole Miss can beat everybody. They're going to put Tennessee up there with national contenders year by year. But that's just not the case. They're not winning championships. Now that Ohio State has done it, and Michigan, and oh, by the way, the number one team in the entire country last year was Oregon. Penn State made it to the finals, the Final Four. So now you're looking at Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon. When you put the top against the top, and what are you going to say about Alabama? Is Alabama going to run or ride off of Nick Saban's rep? I'm not going to, throw the guy out with the baby, throw him out with the bathwater by no means. Right. But Alabama is going down a little bit. Georgia, they're not going down. They'll be there, but at the top, I cancel off Ohio State, Georgia. I cancel off maybe Oregon and Alabama. Who's after that in the SEC? Who, on the top of your head, who would you think about? Texas A&M?
Texas A&M, yeah. Well, with the new schools,
Texas
A&M, Texas, right. Yeah, you would definitely think about those sports juggernauts, okay? But just looking over the recent history, you mentioned 20 years, not me. It was dominated by SEC football. And up until last season when Michigan won it, it was Georgia twice, 21 and 22. It was Alabama in 20. It was LSU in 2019. And I mentioned Clemson in 18 and then Clemson in 16. But between the Clemson victories, Alabama was 17. So there was definitely an SEC bias when it comes to titles. And just because of the last two champions, I'm not going to say that the Big Ten is taking over when it comes to college football. Yes, it's the recent winners. Yes, they just won it. I don't care about the $20 million they spent. Other schools need to get their weight up and spend more money. But college football as a whole, in my opinion, has been dominated by SEC football for the last 15, 20 years. And there's no question about that.
And there's no question about that. But I want you to stew on this, Stu, please. There's only been three teams. With the domination, and I can't take away from what you just said, but there's only been three teams: LSU, Georgia, Alabama. And in the last 2 years, the Big Ten has had two teams. So the domination goes, and when you got three teams, I understand it's going to represent the SEC. Yes, I do understand that. I'm just not talking just to say what the stats are. But they've been dominated by just three teams. So where's the drop-off? If you put those three teams up right now as we speak in the last 2 years against the top three teams in the Big Ten, who are you going to pick? All right, are you going to pick the number one team in the SEC now? I'll go with Texas. Ohio State, Texas cancel out. The next one is Oregon. Oregon and Georgia, can they cancel out? And then you go to Alabama. Alabama and who? Penn State? Okay, Michigan. So now when you're talking about winning and all of it, you have to put the Big Ten back. And the last 2 years means something. That's why I don't want to go back too far, because you are absolutely right. But when it's only three teams, They're three teams are dominating college football.
So 2015 was Alabama, and we'll go up from there. So 16 was Clemson, 17 Alabama, 18 Clemson, 19 LSU, 20 Alabama, Georgia, then Michigan last year. And, of course, this year we're dealing with the Ohio State win. Again, I live in the South, so I'm biased with my thoughts. I played in the ACC, and I will not allow that ACC bias to lean in on this conversation. But I think what we may be seeing, and we'll move on after this, Joe, I think what we may be seeing is a Big Ten that don't have the battles that the SEC has week in and week out for 3 months, starting in September, heading up to the national championship like the Big Ten. The SEC has dog fights every weekend.
I can't say that, and I can't. You don't mean that, Stu.
You
don't mean that. Well, again, the Big Ten.
And I'm talking SEC prior to Texas being there and Oklahoma being in there. I'm talking prior to that. Every week there's a more competitive game in the SEC than there is in the Big Ten.
Well, in the last 2 years, what's this becoming? Because again, in the Big Ten now is Oregon, Penn State, Ohio State, Indiana was there the whole entire season. Now you're throwing all.
You're not going to throw Indiana in this mix. We're talking about teams you're not going to throw Indiana in.
Thank you for stopping me for that. Yeah, but again, if we're going to move forward, we got to say week to week how it's going to be tougher. And again, projection. Yeah. Are you projecting that the SEC is going to get right back on top? Or you can projecting that maybe this is a run that where we don't see an SEC team making it to the national championship stage, holding the trophy up? Because I'm never going to doubt Kirby Smart in Georgia right now.
Right? No, you don't want to do that.
No,
you don't do that.
I want to, but I can't.
Right? I wasn't even though we Georgia haters. Naturally, we came ahead, but we try to be objective and not have a biased opinion on this show. It is your boy, One Life student Ryan Stewart, joined by Joe Hamilton. This is In the Huddle with Joe Ham. Just got done talking about a little bit of Big Ten and there being somewhat of a Big Ten takeover. One more thought in college football before we go into the National Football League and before we try to read some chat too. We appreciate y'all in the chat room and thank y'all for joining the show. This past year, I think it was by far one of the best college football seasons I have ever seen in my life. You just mentioned Indiana, the likes of Arizona State, SMU, Clemson, who people thought was down all year this year, had a strong emergence towards the end of the year. Had a shot.
What about Boise State getting their run, getting their shot?
Got a shot at it. We talked about them for years and how they were too little to ever have a chance to get in that Final Four, and this year they make the Final 12. Do you agree with me that this past college football season was the best that we've ever had in the history of college football?
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you. I agree because it was entertaining throughout. I mean, it was not a lull. And just the storylines, I think media, I think analysts, I think all those people did a great job, just making us feel like we were there with the players, there with the whole journey. And again, if it ain't broke, don't try to fix it. Now, this whole thing needs some tweaks to it. Yeah, you can, shore it up and you can make some changes that's going to have a better product, but the overall product is what they put in front of us, even if they want to add more teams. But if you add more teams, somebody's still going to be upset about the 15th or the 16th spot. Right. But I just think right now, whatever tweaks they go about, hear from the fans, is a product that is here to stay and very entertaining. We were entertained the entire football season, and my goodness, it was fun to watch.
So many games mattered, Joe, and this is the Joe In the Huddle with Joe Ham on Stewart Media and Entertainment every single Wednesday night at 9:00. So many entertaining games, Joe. So many games that mattered. In the past, had Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois University week 1, they would have been an afterthought. They would have been dead to everybody. We would not have given them the opportunity to even be a team that could resurge and find a way to get into the postseason. So I just thought it was phenomenal from start to finish. You got games like Georgia and Georgia Tech where everyone just said, you know what? Nothing the Yellow Jackets going to be able to do with these boys this year. And it goes into 8 freaking overtime. Ooh, 8 freaking, one of the best college football games this past season. I thought this year was phenomenal, Joe, and I'm glad to see you felt the same.
Yeah, how many times you can look at a college football team and they can honestly say we have a shot at the national championship. They can't say that, Stu, but they can say we got a shot to get in the playoffs. We can at least be in the playoffs, and when you get in the playoffs, anything can happen. We got a chance, if we win our conference, to host a playoff game at home under our lights with our fans and our fan base right there attending. Those are the type of things that this atmosphere has been created by the College Football Committee. Now, they can take their lumps. They can take their lumps about who's at the top, where's the leadership, and NIL is the wild, wild west. I understand all that. But let's please not gloss over the outstanding product that we saw on the football field, off the football field, this entire football season, college football season.
As a guy that is not bashful about telling y'all that from time to time I'll put $1 or $2 in these games. I want to tell y'all one of the reasons why I did not wager a lot of college football games is because you just mentioned anything can happen. If the starting quarterback of any team that's a top 10 team, him and his girlfriend of 3 years end up breaking up throughout the course of a week because he found out that his offensive lineman was messing with his girlfriend, that's going to affect your money in college football. That's going to take that young man's mind off of Saturday's game in college football. I think in the National Football League, grown men will be able to handle that with more professionalism for it not to affect them on a Monday or Thursday or a Sunday. But in college football, if your quarterback, your running back, your star receiver, your star defensive end gets his heart broken, there goes your ball game and your money right behind it. So that's why you got to make sure if you're wagering on these games that you take your time and you know exactly what's going on, because things are more temperamental, should I say, in college football than it is in the National Football League when it comes to people and their money. The reason why I brought that up is because you just said anything can happen. And that's the anything that I talk about with people when they talk to me about wagering on college sports.
Man, no rebuttal at all. My goodness, I don't know if anybody said something back to you when you alluded to them, how you felt about it, because all you said was break up with their girl or break up with their man. Or break up with whomever. But let me go to, what about finals? What about studying? What about you failing a class? What about all the rigors of going up there and battling academics? What about those big things? All the little things that goes on, how can you handle it? And how can you settle yourself down to say, I have to provide? You don't have to provide. This is not your job yet. So there's no responsibility of making sure you do that. Yeah, it's a very, very valid point, Stu. I never thought about it that way.
You said it's not your job yet, but we just talked about Ohio State spending $20 million. We just talked about the majority of these colleges signing general managers to come and run their programs. So it's not a job yet, but at the end of the day, that's exactly what it is right now, Joe. It's a job.
They are very adamant, Stu, about, I'm talking about the NCAA, about telling us that it's definitely not pay for play. And when they exercise that thought process, they're telling you that we can't diminish the money. We can't give you so-and-so money saying if you get this many touchdowns, we're going to pay you more, or this is a bonus. That's what they're trying to clarify. Now, I understand what you're saying. They're clarifying it to you that no matter what, we're going to pay you what we're going to pay you regardless of what you do in that football field. So, therefore, it's not your job.
Yeah. We're going to disagree on that one. We're going to disagree on that one. I mean, I mentioned it earlier in today's show, and I've said it in the past couple of weeks. How often do you hear education being talked about? How often do you hear books being talked about? How often do you hear about student-professor relationships like we used to talk about them back in the past? I used to talk about Todd Stansberry walking up the hill to go take teachers' tickets to games. He was playing the game. Classes mattered. Professors mattered. These kids are making money now. It's a whole different ball game. But that's neither here nor there. How you view it doesn't matter. These kids are getting paid and money's being tossed around. So it definitely has changed. We'll move away from college football, man. Really good stuff, Joe. It is the In the Huddle with Joe Ham show. Your boy, one last two, Ryan Stewart. Looking forward to talking about a few of these same topics tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock on the Two Last Stews Experience with myself and my brother Doug Stewart. The Two Last Stews Experience on Stewart Media and Entertainment. In the world of the National Football League, we have to do a recap, Joe. The divisional round in the playoffs have passed and moved on, and now there are only 4 teams remaining. In the AFC, the number 1 seeded Kansas City Chiefs, number 2 seeded Buffalo Bills. They play each other on both games on Saturday, right?
No, Sunday.
Both games on Sunday.
They
play the Chiefs and Bills play at 6:30. And in the NFC, you got the number 2 seeded Eagles and the number 6 seeded Washington Commanders. Can't wait to talk about that game. Joe, let's talk about the divisional series that is now passed and going on, and let's get into conference championship weekend. Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's been on my mind the whole entire weekend with all the games that transpired. Lamar Jackson, that's the elephant in the room. Lamar Jackson, is he going to advance to play Patrick Mahomes and then have an opportunity to go probably hold up the Lombardi trophy? When is the time for Lamar Jackson? It's not this year. And everybody wants to say, and I know they want to ask for me or want me to respond to, what was his role in this deal? What was his role in not being able to go on the road against the Buffalo Bills and win? Turnovers.
Yep.
Turnovers. Lamar Jackson, did he choke? Nope. Is it all on his shoulders? No, because frown at me because I think Lamar Jackson played an outstanding game. I think he played an outstanding game, man. You have to go into some playoff games and a playmaker like Lamar Jackson is, and how he's going to have the balls trying to make a lot of plays with his feet, buying time in the pocket. You're going to make some mistakes. Although that season he had throughout the season, he didn't make very many mistakes at all. So that's where I think that the game was somewhat uncharacteristic for Lamar Jackson. The only time he had 2 turnovers in a game this season was Sunday. That's huge. The play where it was a high snap first, and then he kind of tried to be Superman and make something out of nothing. Coaches always told me they said, do not make a bad play worse. If you're already having a high snap, go ahead and eat it. Live to see another down. Go down, fold up, protect the ball, protect your body, and then we'll call a play on 2nd or 3rd down. He tried to make something happen in the playoffs. It just can't happen. One play on the interception down there that looked like it was to a center fielder, a balloon ball, miscommunication. Miscommunication, that happens. We'll probably never know who's pointing the fingers in the locker room. But at the end of the day, you never know when a turnover or drop pass is going to cost your teams in the playoffs. Yep. So now all we're going to remember is Mark Andrews. All we're going to remember is, Mark Andrews twice. The drive before that he fumbled trying to make a play. It's one thing about a mistake, self-inflicted, Stu, and then somebody forced it.
Yeah.
All right. I have to give the Buffalo Bills a little bit of credit for forcing that first turnover or first fumble of Mark Andrews. I think he had it tucked. He didn't have it high and tight with all 5 points of pressure on it. But the defender made a play. But the mistake he made in the end zone, that was self-inflicted. I mean, you catch that ball 9 out of 10 times, and you have to make that play, and we're going to remember that. But I love the leadership from Lamar Jackson. Why? Because he was able to tell Mark Andrews, hey, man, that's not what cost us the game. It looks like that on the surface, but there are plays throughout the entire ball game that we woulda, coulda, shoulda, and we just couldn't get it done, brother. And it's hard to.
Doug and I used to say, so listen, man, it doesn't take one play to lose a ball game. But if I had to pick one, it was hands down Mark Andrews. Look, man, you mentioned Lamar having a decent year when it comes to interceptions this season. He only had 4 interceptions this season. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, 3 of those interceptions were balls that hit the hands of his receivers.
Yeah.
I'm not here to make excuses for Lamar Jackson and what took place in the divisional round of the playoffs versus the Buffalo Bills. But the way that DB cut underneath that ball, the receiver, had he been running full speed and he had another 5-degree cut on his route, he runs up underneath that ball and not the DB. I'm not making excuses for Lamar because he fumbled that ball. I will tell you this. In the division round, the 4 teams that lost all had multiple turnovers. The 4 teams that won had 0. Your thoughts on that, Joe? The importance of not turning that damn ball over, because when you lose the turnover battle to your opponent in a series as serious as the divisional round, that could simply mean a loss for your team.
Yeah, in playoff game, you're spot on, Stu. In playoff football, it's 2 things that I keep my eye closely keen to looking at. Scoring points in the red zone. I mean, so many coaches, so many head coaches in the college game and the pro games, they refuse to take 3 points. I don't understand it. They refuse to take 3 points. Get your kicker out there and kick those 3 points and change the momentum a little bit. At least you got down there and you were able to score and then kick off and reset your defense, as opposed to having a sudden change where the defense and the offense change right away. But when you look at Josh Allen, when you're saying the turnovers matter, that's why I love the season Josh Allen put together this year. Will he win the MVP? I don't know. I know he's in the running. I know he's deserving to win it with his numbers. But when you talk about a guy that's a student of the game, a guy that self-checked or self-evaluated himself at the end of the season and came
back and did better.
I have to cut down on my turnovers. Yeah. I have to cut down on trying to make every single play a touchdown or a big play. I have to be smarter with the football and let my running game develop a little bit, and I'll take over a little later. He cut down his turnovers, the reckless giving away of the ball, the reckless play, the Brett Favre type of attitude that trying to fit it in the hole no matter what. He got rid of it. And it showed on Sunday because, again, he didn't wow you with his numbers, but he was very efficient with his legs, moving the chains, and keeping the ball out of harm's way. It's so crucial in the playoffs.
Lamar Jackson threw the ball for 254 yards, had one interception. We talked about that. 2 touchdowns. Lamar Jackson also ran 6 times for 39 yards. We know Harbaugh's a great coach. Him and his brother are great coaches. But my question to you is, my research told me that every time Derrick Henry has 20 carries, that the Baltimore Ravens win ball games. My research tells me that every time Derrick Henry is rushed for 85 yards or more on the ground in a ball game, the Baltimore Ravens win ball games. Derrick Henry had 16 carries for 84 yards. He didn't get the 20 carries. He didn't get the 85 yards, and they lost the ball game. Were you screaming at your TV like I was, run the damn ball with Derrick Henry, or do you like the way that the ball was distributed pass run wise in that divisional loss?
I love the way the ball was distributed. And here's why, Stu. There's devils in the details. If you and I sit back and really go in our film room and check this ball game out, how many more carries would Derrick Henry would have had if you didn't have 2 turnovers? Remember, that was first down when Lamar Jackson turned that ball over, maybe second downs. So if you move the chains, that's another more series, more possessions. If you don't throw that interception, I think that better came on first down at the balloon. That's another 3 more downs that you have an opportunity to give Derrick Henry the ball. So I think you were on pace on every single one of those drives until you turned it over. Now, if they did not turn the ball, I think they were headed to the point to where making sure that Derrick Henry got his chances because, oh, by the way, at the end of the game, they had a chance to tie it up and send it into overtime with those 2 turnovers. I think it was just a turnover game that kind of skewed the numbers about Derrick Henry's carries.
What did you see from Kansas City in that victory over the Houston Texans? Of course, everybody thought it would be a victory for the Kansas City Chiefs. No one really gave the Houston Texans an opportunity to win that ball game. C.J. Stroud came in there and had 245 yards and did not throw any interceptions. He threw for more yardage than Patrick Mahomes did. But he also got sacked 8 times by the Kansas City Chiefs defense. Talk to me about that game between the Chiefs and the Texans, Joe.
Well, I can talk to you about 3 Hall of Famers. Andy Reid, head coach, Patrick Mahomes, quarterback, and Travis Kelce, the tight end. And I can add one more, defensive tackle, Chris Jones, to the Hall of Fame list. And that's what you got. You got guys well-rested, had a week or maybe a whole month off. They didn't play since Christmas.
Like 3 weeks. Like 3 weeks, yeah.
To fine-tune their skills, to get healthy. They knew how to practice. And I would say this, DeMeco Ryans and his defensive staff, I have a lot of respect for those guys. I have a lot of respect for where Houston got because they were injury-riddled. Tank Dell, wide receiver, out. Stephon Diggs, wide receiver, out. You didn't have much weapons at all except Nico Collins on the outside. Joe Mixon had an outstanding, season game. He was running really, really hard. But if you, DeMeco Ryans, a defensive-minded coach, anybody but Travis Kelce, I mean, I'm cool with Xavier Worthy doing it. I'm cool with, Hollywood Brown doing it. Maybe a running back, Pacheco, or anybody, Kareem Hunt, but not Travis Kelce. I mean, you have to do something. I'm not taking away from the greatness of Travis Kelce. He finds a way. Him and Pat Mahomes plays background pickup football every now and then, ad-libbing, making routes up on the fly. But to have him beat you the way he did it, and old Travis Kelce, I think he sandbags. He sandbags in a good way, Stu. He sandbags the regular season. He kind of coasts. I don't think he had 4. I think he had maybe 2 touchdowns in the regular season. He just got to the finish line. Can we win? Can I contribute? And where my real bread is buttered at is in the playoffs, and that's when I'm going to step up. So I cannot bet against Kansas City. I cannot bet against Kansas City. It's a story. It's a guy that's going after the guys that's going after this record with the just a crazy, crazy, ambitious attitude.
Travis Kelce, 7 catches, 117 yards, did not have a game like that this entire year. As a matter of fact, some people were questioning his worth.
Yes.
Week 1 through week 6 or week 7. He just wasn't there. The Chiefs were not playing ball like they typically play ball, and Kelsey just wasn't getting touchdowns, and Kelsey wasn't catching 7-8 balls a game. But like you said, when it really, really matters, he shows up big, and he did that this past weekend. Philadelphia, Joe, they got by the LA Rams by the skin of their chin. Okay, give me your thoughts on that 28-22 victory with the Eagles over the Rams. The Rams could have won that ball game.
Oh yeah, they could have won that ball game, but here's the deal with the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, it's just how old school football is. It's just how old school football is ran. It's how old school football games are won. And I'm saying you stop the run and you keep a running the football. You stop the run and you keep a running the football. And that's who the Eagles are. And they have that home field advantage, whether it sleets, rains, snows, high windy conditions. If you're in the trenches and you can dominate with that all-world offensive line, don't you know this is just a stat that just blows my mind every time I read it and just absorb it. Saquon Barkley has 2.5 yards before anybody touches him. His offensive line is driving up to the second level, mauling guys to the echo of the whistle so much that before he even gets touched, it's 3 yards almost. Right. So I don't think that changed. I think that travels at home. I think that travels to the Super Bowl. And defensively, that's the same thing that they do with those Georgia boys, Jalen Carter and the big boy Davis up front. They stop the run and force you to be predictable in the pass. So I can't bet against the Eagles. That's exactly what they did to Sean McVay. How are you going to let Sean McVay again? And I know Saquon Barkley, he's special. A guy ran for 255 yards when you're in the regular season, and that had to be the game plan. And then he came out in a playoff game and ran for 205. Hey, come on, man. I mean, you have to load the box. Hey, you have to load the box, and I understand that Devontae Smith and then A.J. Brown would be left one-on-one on the outside. But, man, you got to let those guys beat you. You cannot let the running game, which takes time off the clock and, sets a tone as far as physicality. You can't let that happen. Oh, by the way, Stu, I would be remiss if I don't bring this up. I did not see A.J. Brown reading the book. Did you see him reading the book on the sideline? Because they say that happens all the time. They said that to us, to you and I, that he does that often. He always do that. Didn't they say that to us?
Sirianni said every game for the last 6 or 7 years.
Well, I didn't
see
this.
Liar.
Pants on fire.
Before we get up to Philadelphia Eagles, Joe, Jalen Hurts only threw for 128 yards. He ran
that
for about 60, 70 yards. That was my question. Is that going to be able to play in this weekend's NFC Championship game? And we're about to talk about the Commanders and what they did versus the Lions. But is Hurts going to be able to throw for 130 yards and win a ball game this weekend?
Yes, because that's their recipe. I mean, if you look back at the games they've won and the playoff games that Jalen Hurts has won, it's always throwing in the 125 to 150. And the running game is through the roof, 250 yards to 300 yards rushing. And then the passing yards is a little bit, mediocre, to be honest with you. But again, if you can run the ball and dictate that running game and then run play action, yes. Now, I worry about his knee that he injured last game that got buckled under him a little bit. Is he healthy enough to break off the 15-yard run, the 7-yard run, the 20-yard runs? Is he going to be able to do that? Now, again, the way Jalen Hurts in that pass game has looked the past month, if I'm Dan Quinn in the Commanders, I'm trying to force Jalen Hurts to beat me with his arm. And he's going to have to make plays. I cannot afford to have a light box, 5-6 men in the box, and try to stop Saquon Barkley. I have to load up to stop him. That's the only way the Commanders win the game.
I had a real problem with Saquon getting 26 carries for over 200 yards. I just kept saying to myself, okay, McVay, put everybody in the goddamn box. Put everybody in there. The quarterback hadn't thrown for 100 yards yet, and this guy
and he's a gimp.
Yards a pop. Oh, and the quarterback's a gimp.
Yeah.
Load the box up. What was I missing with that, Joe?
You weren't missing anything, Stu. You weren't missing anything at all. And sometimes, the coaches get in their own head. Sometimes coaches get spooked about resumes. Sometimes they get spooked about potential. And he got spooked. Him and his defensive coordinator got spooked about leaving Devontae Smith one-on-one, leaving A.J. Brown one-on-one. If we do that, they're going to light us up anyway. But I'm with you. Then let them let us up on the outside. We can't let this continue to happen because it demoralizes a team when you cannot stop the run.
It hurts. It hurts big time, man. Wrapping things up right now in the house with your boy Joe Ham. This is In the Huddle with Joe Ham. I'm your boy, One Life Student Ryan Stewart. Looking forward to doing tomorrow's show with Doug Stewart. You can catch us at 7 o'clock right here on Stewart Media and Entertainment on YouTube. You can catch us on Facebook too. We'll be talking about some of these same topics. Let's go ahead and talk about the Washington Redskins, man. I lost money on this game. I didn't think that
you're gonna get canceled calling them the Redskins.
Oh, I know. My bad. I said it 3 times today too. I've almost said it 3 times, but I said it just now. The Commanders. I told everybody that would listen to me last week that the Commanders and Jaden Daniels couldn't get it done this weekend. I said that the divisional round would be too much for all of the rookies that was a part of it. I didn't think that the rookies would have this much success. I didn't think that Jaden Daniels would win last week either, just like Bo Nix lost. I don't want to make this a Jaden Daniels topic. I do want to talk about the 45-point victory over the Detroit Lions. They only had 31. But when you look at that victory and how that game was played in Detroit, Jaden Daniels carried everybody on his freaking back. Talk to me about that victory that he had in Detroit that put the Motor City out of the miseries this past weekend, Joe.
Well, you don't want to put it, or you don't want to make it all about Jaden Daniels, Stu. I don't either, but there's no way around it.
Wow.
I mean, that's the whole show. That's the whole reason why the Commanders are where they are right now. That's the entire show. That's what it's all about. And the reason why you didn't think Jaden Daniels can do this and perform the way he's performing, we didn't have any sample size. We didn't have any blueprint to this. It's never happened before, Stu. So how could we believe that it could happen with this guy now? We know it's special. So what I'm going to have to do now, and I suggest you do it as well, we got to take rookie off of him. We got to stop acting like he's a rookie, which he is. I know that. He's a rookie, yeah, but we have to stop acting like, he's just a normal. We got to say this guy is special. This guy is, generational, once in a lifetime. Because almost last year, 2 years ago, we tried to say this about C.J. Stroud.
Right.
But he took that C.J. Stroud thing to another level. He took the calmness. You blitz him. You try to rattle him. He's got an answer to all the questions you have on the test. And what goes unnoticed, too, and I want to bring this up because it's so very important to me. We all look at the audibles at the line of scrimmage and then a pass play, whether a hitch or a play action, whether you slide and protect or where you're doing things to make sure you get the ball off. If you see a nickel blitz coming off the edge and you want to reset the back to go over there and pick him up. Yeah, those are nuances you must have.
Talk football, Joe. Talk football, Joe.
Yeah, those are nuances you must have. But what goes unnoticed is the decision-making process in the run game. That zone read where you got to give it or pull it, that zone read to where you knowing with the check whether you're going to run with that rock down safety or run away from that safety, that's just as important. And that game he played this past weekend was flawless in the run game. The run checks, it doesn't get talked about enough, Stu, but the run checks, getting them in out of bad plays, in good plays in the run games, 3 yards instead of no yards, 6 yards instead of 2 yards. It's humongous. And that's where you hear defensive coordinators talking about you can't confuse him. He's doing all of the right things. He's making all the right checks because he's making most of his simple run game checks. It makes me more amazed at his progression so fast in the National Football League.
22 for 31, 299 yards, no interceptions, no sacks. Joe, the Washington Redskins did not have one freaking punt. Joe, they went for it on 4th down 4 times, getting it the last 3 times that they tried. You had 4th and 3. You had a 4th and 4. Joe, you had a 4th and 5. And Dan Quinn, who did not do this when he was with the Atlanta Falcons, has shown a confidence in this young rookie that I've never seen before. Joe, this is in the Huddle with Joe Ham. This is in the Huddle with Joe Ham. So I'm not going to have a filibuster and talk about my disdain for when coaches pass up on those 3 points.
Oh my!
How hard it is to get points in the National Football League. How important every point is. But when the Washington Redskins don't have a punt, and when Dan Quinn continues to allow his rookie quarterback to go for it in some really awkward situations, and he gets it, what happens this weekend when they play Philadelphia and you got a quarterback in Jalen Hurts that's dinged up? What happens this weekend when they play Philadelphia and you got a quarterback that can't throw the ball for 299 yards? Jaden Daniels threw the ball for 299 versus Detroit. We just talked about Hurts barely having a 125. Joe, I guess what I'm asking you is, part A is, what's up with these coaches in these fourth downs and how cool Jaden Daniels is to handle it? And who do you like, part B, in this game coming up versus Washington and Philadelphia?
Well, hey, what's going on with these coaches? I think is a game plan. I think these coaches study all week and they understand and they realize what it will take to win a ball game. I don't fault Dan Quinn for his decision making before Sunday. Why? Because he said the Detroit Lions, to beat Detroit, you can't kick field goals. To beat Detroit, you must have points, touchdowns at the end of these drives because they are going to score. They didn't anticipate taking the ball away from Detroit 5 times. That doesn't happen. I think they only did that one time this season, Detroit, when Goff gave away the 5 picks and they still won the football game. He did not anticipate that happening. So that's why he's having the mindset. And when you as a player, Stu, already on Thursday, Friday, and your coaches are saying, hey guys, we're going to go for it. We're going to be aggressive. We're going to empty that tank. We're going to use all our tools in that toolbox. They have the mindset, hey man. And when you do that, third down becomes, I don't have to get this first down. Just cut it in half. And then you can make a more manageable fourth down. Just imagine 4th and under 5, that's manageable. You can call any play in your playbook. That's just like 3rd and medium, 3rd and short. Right. So I really love that decision. And Jaden Daniels, I want to say one thing about Jaden Daniels.
Please.
And you know it because you love the Detroit Lions, rightfully so. Aaron Glenn is a blitzing defensive coordinator. So no sack. You tried to light the rookie up. You tried to send the house at the rookie. You tried to confuse the rookie with zone blitzes and dropping coverages, dropping DNs and dropping tackles. You tried to do everything but the rookie handle it. Now going into Philadelphia, the Commanders, I think it stops there. I think it stops there because, again, I don't see them stopping Saquon Barkley or the running game. And I just think that Jaden Daniels and that run game gets stifled just a little bit enough to make him have to be a one-man gang, and which he's shown us he can do it. I look at a tight game, the Eagles by 6, 27-21.
So you think I'm safe with the 6 points if I take the 6 in the Commanders? Because I'm here to tell you right now, I've watched the Philadelphia Eagles the last 2 weeks, and I've watched the Washington Commanders the last 2 weeks. Washington's a better, more sound offensive football team than Philadelphia is. If I got to put my money on the quarterback alone, I'm putting my money on Jaden Daniels. If I got to put my money on one of the coaches, Dan Quinn or Sirianni, I'm putting my money on Dan Quinn. I would take Philadelphia's defense over Washington's defense. But Joe, tell me what you see happening in this game. Do you think I'm safe with that 6 points?
No. I called the game 27-26, and that is 27-21, 6-point spread. But no, you're not safe with that. It's just that superhuman guy, Jaden Daniels. I mean, he refuses to lose. He refuses to be denied. And you know, Stu, how that galvanizes a team. I mean, those guys are so comfortable, boy, because they have Jaden Daniels. And the Philadelphia Eagles do not have a Jaden Daniels. They have a banged-up Jalen Hurts and a knee. And you're not going to go after that knee. You're not going to target the knee. But I'm going with the Eagles. But Jaden Daniels, if the Commanders lose, it will not be because Jaden Daniels shrunk under the big lights or the moment was too big.
I agree. Before we jump in the huddle with Joe Hamilton, and this is In the Huddle with Joe Hamilton, a beautiful Wednesday night. We appreciate y'all for joining us every single Wednesday. We'll be here at 9 o'clock. Before we get in the huddle, Joe, Buffalo, Kansas City. Game's going to be in Kansas City. Kansas City playing for a three-peat. Give me your thoughts on who wins this game and why.
Yeah, well, go over. I don't know what the line is right now. I'm thinking 31-28. I'm thinking a high number. I'm thinking these two quarterbacks are going to bring their A game. And it's going to go back to, again, different styles. I'm going to give a little bit of a leeway to Patrick Mahomes because I know how he acts. Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, I can afford to give them 2 turnovers.
Real quick, Joe, I'm sorry. Buffalo Bills are getting 1.5. Kansas City's favored by 1.5 to win at home. Okay, continue.
Yes, and that's fair. That's an even team. That is an even matchup. And why I think that Patrick Mahomes can get 2 turnovers and they still win the game. He doesn't get flustered. I mean, his next play, next down, next half, next series, he forgets about it. If Buffalo goes back to turning the ball over, and if Josh Allen goes back to trying to be Houdini and have it a quarterback matchup that he's got to outplay, which he has not done this far this season, which he has to outplay Patrick Mahomes and put the ball in his harm's way, it's going to be the Kansas City Chiefs by double digits. But again, if it's a close game, I just think Patrick Mahomes is going to find a way to win like he always do. He's going to find a way to make a play. And Travis Kelce, too much experience at home. Andy Reid, I got Kansas City Chiefs in another barn burner. I predicted overtime once again.
More on all of these topics tomorrow on the Two Live Stews Experience with your boy Run Live Stew, Ryan Stewart, and his brother Doug. 7 a.m. on YouTube, 7 a.m. on Facebook. We'll be here. And after that show, you can catch it on Stewart Media and Entertainment on YouTube whenever time allows. All right, Joe, before we let you get out of here, man, and great job today. Wonderful job.
Oh, man. Feel good, brother.
Let's go ahead and allow people to jump in the huddle with Joe Ham, man.
Yeah, you know what, Stu, man? I texted you and I texted Nadia. I texted us, you guys on the stream, and I said a tremendous movement. And I'm excited about the tremendous movement that's taking place. And this is what it is. It's these athletes, man, professing and proclaiming the name of Jesus out loud. My goodness, these guys are using a platform these days. I'm talking from the entire Ohio State football team where they baptize guys on campus in the offseason. Riley Leonard, the quarterback for Notre Dame, first and foremost, they are giving Jesus Christ the glory, the honor. And before they say anything, where'd you get it from? Where'd you get your talents? The Lord Almighty. You go to Lamar Jackson and his post-game presser, he was saying the same thing. I trust the Lord. It's all about the Lord. I mean, you keep on going. Jaden Daniels saying the same thing. It's the Lord. He allowed me to be here. He allowed me to showcase my talents. Without him, I'm nothing. It just soothes my heart because they're using their platform to proclaim Jesus, the Great Commission. We know about the Great Commission. The Great Commission is to make everybody disciples, to go out there and preach the gospel. You imagine all of us using our platform to do that? Scream Jesus, scream the good word, scream the Holy Spirit. It just soothes me. I love the movement. I love where it's going. And shout out to college football to those guys that sticking out for our main man, Jesus Christ.
Oh, man, outstanding job. We appreciate that in the huddle, man. That's In the Huddle with Joe Ham. And this was the In the Huddle with Joe Ham show. Looking forward to doing this every single Wednesday. Again, all the topics that we covered tonight for this last hour, we will be revisiting in the morning with Doug. So make sure you log on and spend time with the Two Live Stews. God is good all the time, and all the time God is good. If you don't know me, need to find him and show him love. That's all he's showing you, nothing but love. Outstanding job, Joe. Thank you. Everybody in the chat room, I'm going to promise you, man, this is the last time I'm going to tease reading chat and we not get to it. But the dread is holding me to a fire and making sure that I get out on time, and I'm already late. We will do your chat in the future. And y'all join us in the huddle with Joe Hamilton and your boy One Live Stew. Thank y'all very much. Peace and God bless. And we'll see y'all next week on Wednesday at 9 o'clock.
Blessings.
Appreciate you, Joe.
Yes, sir.